Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got an updated 2023 office tour to show you. I'm in Plannerface HQ, most of you will know it from the studio vlogs, but I haven't done like a full office tour since about 2021. I was due to do one in 2022 and we had a lot of change with sort of equipment and just moving furniture around, and I ended up just not getting around to filming one. I kept putting it off by thinking, oh well, I'll wait to see if I keep this set up for a few months and then I'll film one, and everything kept changing. But I've had this now in the way it is for about 4 months and I'm really happy with how it is. So I'm going to give you a rundown of everything in the office, where most of it is from. If I forget anything, please ask me in the comments and I'll get back to you, and I'll link everything that I can think of in the description as well. But let's get into it. So I'm stood in the doorway and this is how the office looks if I pan around, but I am going to begin in the doorway because this is where I've just shoved my tripod for now. This is the tripod that I'm now using for vlogging. It's really tall. It basically moves around the office because obviously it's not something that you're going to keep in the same place, but it is a Joby one. I've had it for probably about 5-6 years now, so I'm not sure if it's still available, but I really like it. You can also have it so it flips down for like plan with me videos. It has this like interchangeable head, and I've got this sort of interchangeable head on all of my tripods now, so my camera can slot between them. It's so convenient and just really well built and heavy duty. Oh, it's a Vanguard. I said it was Joby, it's not, it's Vanguard, but I have a lot of Joby ones as well. So anyway, this is the tripod. Then as we move around, I've got my notice board. So this is, I kind of have fun things on here, some important things, but it's mostly just like things I want to look at every day. I've got my portrait of me and Aristotle that Kat got me for my birthday, some stamps. We've got some guidelines for when the dog sitter comes, my Taylor Swift mask from Palentine's. Kat made me these cute little cards to celebrate the mystery. So I've got those on there. I've got my illustration of Aristotle from Pet Portrait Illustration, and then just some letters and a postcard from Sarah, and a picture that Sarah's daughter drew me. It's so cute. So moving around, I've got my grey bag stored in this sort of like basket storing coffee table thing from IKEA, and then these are just like extra storage boxes that will go into storage at some point, but for right now they're just stacked here. I've got my grey paper, so this is like when you scrunch it up and put it in the packages to fill the void, like what Amazon do. I don't like to use this, I prefer to use my shredded paper, but I've just got this sort of in case. Then we move round to my filming desk. I've got stuff stored under it as well, but this is where I do all my filming, my photos, and my planning. So I've got all my planning stuff on here. It looks a little bit disorganised at the minute, and I mean it is disorganised, but it's better than it was. So if we start on the left, I've got my Elgato Studio lights. I really like these, I would highly recommend these. They're the key lights, and I've got the wider ones, not the square ones. You control them on the app, and I just like that they're not bulky like box lights. I just like them a lot. I have got a phone tripod here that is just like a random one from Amazon. I don't really use it that often, but if I ever want to use it, I can move it around as it just clips onto the desks. So I do have a second key light here on this side, and then my filming arm is also an Elgato arm. I think it's like a multi-purpose arm, and you can attach sort of anything to it. It comes with bits of metal that basically like connect to each other, so you can choose how long you want it, what angles you want, and it's really versatile. And like I mentioned before, I've got another one of these like universal grips, so my camera just slots in. So actually onto the desk, I've got an acrylic drawer with some planner supplies in, my pencil case, some more like planner supplies in here. It's not that well organised. So this is someone's order because they are collecting it at Plannerface and they need to leave it out. But these are my boxes of stickers for like my personal planning. I've got my scripts in here divided into alphabetical order, and I haven't actually used this yet, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna find it better or not, but I just wanted to try it. This one is my doodles, and it's all separated into category. I think this is going to be really convenient for me. These boxes were from Amazon and the dividers were also from Amazon, so I'll link those both. As we move around, I've got some pen pots. My most used tools are in here, and then I've got my mild liners and my dot pens. I have an acrylic box, and this has my reusable albums and my Coffee Monsters Co album and some loose sticker sheets that I use quite often. Next to that, I've got some albums, some stickers that need to go away, and my planner. And I've got some dividers in front of here that need to go away. And then just sort of temporarily, these are all my event albums that I have my scripts and doodles displayed in. And because I'm in the process of moving them over to the boxes, these are just sort of out while I deal with them. And I've got another order on here that needs to be dealt with. So that's the top of the planning desk. I've got some photo boards and backdrops here. I just sort of store them down the side and that works quite well. This is a little display that I've got for the event, so it's just there temporarily. I do have, the cable management in this office is not great, so I'm not going to say any more about that. So I do have an extension cable just attached to the top of the desk. I've got a laminator plugged in just behind here. And then this is a box of oops stickers. And then I think these are just albums in the bottom box. And then these are empty boxes. So moving round to my Kallax unit in the corner. This is a mix of functional and fun things. So I've got like old planners and random stationery supplies in this one. I've got my premium matte paper stored down here. This one is a little bit random. It's just kind of things that like I need access to but are bulky, so I've got some boxes for the event. In these blue bins I've got my camera equipment in the bottom with a lid on because I don't go in it that often, and then this is all of my premium matte stock that I've got on hand. So when I get a premium matte order I go in here first and see if I've got anything already made up for it. Most of the time I sort of have one or two things because I don't keep a lot of it on hand, but I do kind of print multiples if I can. So that's all separated with these same dividers that I'll link down below, but that's really handy. Moving up, I've got my laser printer, which I only really use it for printing invoices and order manifests. To the side, I have got stickers in these acrylic drawers behind. I have a lot of these acrylic drawers because I bought them when I was like making towers out of them. I almost made like a storage unit just of these like individual drawers. But I don't have that anymore, so I just have loads of them scattered about the office now. So these are not really well organised at the minute. They do have stickers in, but I'm not sure what they are. There's two albums. I don't think they're being used for anything right now. And then these are more storage boxes for the event, so I'll be moving those very shortly. More acrylic boxes at the top. There are mystery things in the top three, and then I've got plain paper for manifests. I think this is craft paper, so I don't really have a need of that right now. And then this is A5 paper for printing invoices on. In the next cubby, I've got my last year's planner, some candles, some music books, notebooks, like memorabilia, I guess, like just things I don't really have anywhere to put. Got like a signed album, a signed cassette. I've then got my washi drawers. Honestly, don't really use washi that much, so I'm not really in here very often. I then got a box of miscellaneous sort of planner supplies that need to be sorted, and then extra albums. They do have things in, but again, they need to be sorted, so it's a little bit chaotic at the minute. Then if we go up, I just have some fun things on here, like just things that make me happy. I've got my plant that I really thought was dying, and it seems to have made a comeback. I cut it all right back, and it's doing really well. So that's on a cake stand so that I can spin it round. I've got my humidity and temperature monitor on here. I have been having issues with my paper curling lately, so I'm trying to see if there's like any patterns and control that a bit better. I have a random drumstick. This was from when I saw Hawthorne Heights, who are like my favourite like childhood teenage band, and I just kept the drumstick. I thought it was really cool that I got one. Then I've got a little picture of me and Tom with like the All Too Well lyrics that Dania got me for Christmas. I've got my Hitman statue. I don't know if it's a statue, like a model, I guess, figurine, which I just love the Hitman franchise, so I wanted to have one of those. I've got my Starbucks barista. I always forget what these are called. It's a Momiji. I got this from Kat and it's really cute. They are sort of like limited edition. Mine is 194 and it has a little note in it. But I like having that out on display. I've got my pushing. This like doesn't have any significance apart from the fact that I just like it. And then I've got my DJI tripod, which is for filming on my phone, and it has like stabilization and stuff. So that is that unit. Next to it I have got my Raskog cart. This doesn't really have that much in it. I've got my postage scales on top, which is really handy now that that's there because it's sort of easily accessible from the desk. And if I'm only wearing one or two things, I can just use it while it's on here. This is the IKEA Raskog, and I've got the like lid for it that makes it into a top. This is a box of stickers that kind of needs attention, so like maybe they're for grab bags, oops bags. They might be incomplete kits that I need to sort of work through, so to be honest, I don't really like look at it that much. I really ought to, but that's why that's there. On the middle shelf, I've got some more sort of personal stationery, some sticky notes. This has my sticky note collection in it, this pencil case and fox and cactus. And I never go in there and use them because I love them so much and don't want to use them. This bag has things for when I go to events. I've got stuff for the swaps table, so I just add to it. I've got some cables here. Honestly, don't know what they are. I was going to ask Tom if he knew why we needed to keep them. I've got some glasses cleaner and then loads of notepads in here as well. So moving around, this is basically where I sit for like 99% of the time. My designing desk, where I do everything. It is a standing desk and I got it from Flexi Spot, and I really do rate their desks. I think they're great. My office chair it's like a really stereotypical office chair, but I find it really comfortable. I will link it. Tom hates it, so you might not even like a style of chair like this, but I really like it. I have got my my treadmill. I literally never use this. I thought it was a great idea, and like it does help me concentrate if I walk and work at the same time, but there's only certain tasks that I can do while I walk, and designing is a bit too intricate, so I need to try and use this more, but I really like it for what it is. It doesn't hugely fit into my range of tasks. And I have a little footrest thing as well, which was just from Amazon. So on the top of my desk, I've got my MacBook Pro. I have the M1 MacBook Pro Max. I think it's like the 16-inch, like super powerful one. I got it last year, but I love it, 100% rate it. It's the best laptop I've ever had. I can really tell like a big difference in terms of power when I'm designing, video editing, stuff like that. So I have it rigged up to an Asus monitor. It's a curved monitor. It was Tom's and now it's mine. On the top, I just have another Elgato arm, such an Elgato fanboy, connected to my microphone. This is for voiceovers and it is an Audio Technica, insert model name here. And then I've got my Logitech headset on the top. But I really like how this is kind of neatly cable managed. Like, I mean, this doesn't look as neat, but like the wires are not hanging around, which is what I wanted. So I've got my wax warmer here. Literally can't remember the last time I turned that on. I've got some little crates with storage. Tom 3D printed me these. I've just got my hard drive and some sort of knickknacks in the lower one. Behind here, I've got a USB hub. This is by Belkin, and to be honest, it doesn't have enough USBs. I feel like none of them do, but I got it because it has a port that my monitor needs. I have an Anker wireless charger and it's purple, so obviously I had to get this one. I have got my Stanley cup, big proponent of these, really fell into the hype, but I've never had a stainless steel cup before, so I think I would have been happy with any, but I do really like it. On this side, I've got another one of these green bins, just with like a pen pot, some miscellaneous things, paperwork that I probably need to think about sooner rather than later, and then I've got my notepad, which at the minute is my clipboard from the Coffee Monsters Co., and a pen. Down the side of my desk, I've got my bin, and then we move over to the production side of things, the Graphtec and the printers. So these are actually dining tables from IKEA. I was struggling to find a desk that has the right depth for the cutter, so if you come around here, you can see that the cutter is pretty wide. So my usual desks that I had been using just aren't deep enough. So the desk itself is supported by two Alex drawers, and then I've got legs in the middle. And because it is a dining table and not a desk, we had to drill the holes for the legs because they didn't fit what we had already. So the Graphtec itself is a CE7000 F Mark II. So the CE7000 part refers to the actual cutter, and then the F Mark II is the arm that automatically feeds the paper into the cutter. And I think it's called something different in different regions. It might be called an ASC, automatic sheet cutter, but in the UK it's the F Mark II. So I just have a little pot with my oil in it. I did have to oil a blade for the first time this week, so I've got that here with a spare blade. Again, Tom 3D printed me this little container. I just love 3D printed things. I keep my blades in the top and some little tools. I've got a little brush for, sometimes the blade gets like dusty, so I use a little makeup brush to clean that. The drawers under the cutter, I've tried to keep reasonably functional, so I can't use the top one because it just doesn't open with this in the way, which is a bit of a shame. And this one doesn't open fully, but I have got blades and miscellaneous Graphtec things in here. I've got a cutting strip. This one has sort of packaging supplies. I've got Royal Mail labels, my packaging labels. I use these for oops bags and stuff, so these are all in that drawer. And then these bottom ones are really just junk drawers. If we move around, I do have another Alex drawers. So this is like the wide Alex drawers. They are labelled, but I've changed them since, so ignore that. I have my bin here, so this is for all my paper scraps. The top drawer is kind of junk as well. It looks like there's kind of oops and grab bag stuff in there. This one has These are test sheets for when I need to test a cut on the Graphic, so there's probably a printing error or something happened with them. I've got some washi tape behind here and some spare albums. I keep some paper in this drawer. I kind of replenish this very often, it's just so I can easily grab it. More paper and spare vinyl in here. This one has Oops albums, and the bottom one I think is junk as well. Not too bad, it's got a lot of this, it's meant to be like eco tape, but it's really difficult to use and doesn't tear very well. So back on the top of the desk, I've just got this purple bin with some miscellaneous tools that I grab quite often. I've got my computer just around the back, and then I have my label printer on top. It is the Zebra GK420D, and it's the one that if you have a Royal Mail business account, you get free labels for, so I would highly recommend looking into that because the labels get really expensive. I have my monitor here, so I have this in a vertical orientation. It's an Acer one. I don't really know more than that. I've had it a very long time and it works for what it is. I don't really use this computer much apart from printing and cutting. Another thing I should probably mention with the Graphic is that it is only compatible with Windows. I'd already got a Windows computer for cutting, so it didn't bother me, but I know a lot of people who are like big Mac users would find that a bit of a challenge. So on the desk, I've got a big box of paper, and this is currently flattening sheets that I'm intending to cut today. So as I said, with the humidity and temperature, I'm trying to keep everything flat, so this just helps towards that. I've got my mouse and my keyboard. I always get questions about this keyboard. I will link it down below if it's still available. I did get it from Amazon, but I changed the keycaps myself. But I think you could get similar. I will try and find it. And then this is my Logitech MX Master Mouse. This is the 2S. And I've had this for a long time. You can see it's pretty worn, but it's really comfortable, and apart from being a little bit grubby and dyed from ink, it's great. So as we come over, I've got my other table with my printers on it. I did used to keep my silhouettes all on these shelves. I do still have 4 of them, but I barely use them, so I did get rid of half of my fleet of silhouettes. But I've kept the storage here because it's pretty handy to like layer sheets on here when I've been cutting them, and it allows me to keep the printer out of the way. Otherwise, I don't really know like what kind of shelving unit I would put the printers on. But I do use the Canon IX6850, and I've been using those for years, and I just really like them. So on the left, like I said, I've got my sheets here when I cut them. This isn't usually here, it's because I'm dealing with event stuff again. I do keep my premium matte dusters on here, so when I cut premium matte it's really dusty and I just use this to get the extra dust off. And then on the desk I've got my guillotine. This is the Ideal 1038 and it is really heavy and I love it. You can't cut like a ton of sheets at once, but for what I need it for, it's really good. And the reason I wanted this one is because it has a clamp, so you can clamp the sheets down while you cut and they don't move. And then I love this little measuring guide, I use it all the time. But I use this now because I have to manually trim my sheets to be half or quarter sheets. I can't just cut them on the Graphic like I used to with the silhouettes. So moving on to the right side of shelves, I have still got some silhouettes like I said. I've got some mattes. I really don't use them very often anymore, maybe a few times a month. I think I could probably scale down, but I'm just still a little bit nervous about doing that fully. So I'm going to keep them for now. And then I have a tray which just kind of has miscellaneous things. It's normally stuff that needs to be actioned on, so I think these kits need some extra add-ons cutting for them, so that's why they're there. And then I've got my other Alex drawers. There's nothing really interesting in here apart from my ink. So again, Tom 3D printed me these little organisers, so I've got all my ink organised by colour. And then the rest is kind of miscellaneous stuff because I had a lot of things in here that I don't need anymore. Like when I stopped using the silhouettes, I had a lot of stuff in here for those and now I just don't use it. And then I also have the robot vacuum under here as well. So if we move around, this is the aircon unit that I'm now having to heavily rely on because of the... Oh, excuse you. Spoiler alert, we have rabbits. As I was saying, this is the aircon unit. I'm relying on this really heavily because of the paper curling at the minute. So it is set up so the hot air goes into the back garden. Our garden's a bit of a mess, like don't look too closely at that. Yeah, so we've got it sealed now at the door. We didn't have this last year and it wasn't that efficient, but now the air doesn't come back in, which is great. But this is a godsend because it gets really warm in here, and also with the rabbits I just want to keep them cool. And I've also put up this like black sheeting. It's not the best solution, it just blocks a bit of light because my curtains do only go to like this bit and not up here. So he basically introduced himself, but we do have rabbits. This is Enzo and Tallulah. They are indoor rabbits. They've lived in the office since we moved in really. She's shedding at the minute. So they have this wooden enclosure. This takes up probably like 1/6 of the room, but it's so much easier to clean them out now compared to when we had like a cage style enclosure. So this is where they live. I will link the enclosure and the house and the hay feeder and everything down below. And then behind the rabbits, I've got my packing desk. So this is editing Anna, and I've just gone to edit the final portion of this video, and the audio is awful. I don't know what happened. I think my camera must have like got unplugged from the microphone, so I'm going to voice this over, so hopefully I can sync up the audio quite well. But right now I'm going to show you my packing desk. This is where all the orders get packed. I've got random stuff on it at the minute, like I'm restocking scripts, so that's what these are. I've got portions of orders around, but I do have these acrylic drawers, the ones I mentioned earlier, and I have these labelled with my Dymo label, so that I can put things away and try and keep the office a little bit more organised. So I've got premium mat, name labels for addresses, my grab bags are in here, so I try and put sheets away as I get them rather than like letting them pile up. My oops bags, I've got some sort of miscellaneous freebie sheets in that drawer, and my transparent paper lives there. Then on top I've got sort of pens, nail varnish remover, miscellaneous sheets, some adhesive remover, just kind of random bits and bobs that I might grab while I'm doing orders. Not really the nail varnish remover, but you know. Then I've got another drawer with my cello bags that I use for packing orders. So I use the flush top, like the open ones, because I find that I can get the sheets in like easily, more efficiently than having to peel the thingy off. I've got my freebies on top, and then in the drawer below I just have my grab bag and oops bags labels that I pre-print. I've got my water activated tape. I did spray this purple. It originally comes like pink or green, so I'll link that down below. I did do a reel where I painted it. I've got my packaging labels in these tilt bins, so they're not made to be used this way, but I have a bit of tape keeping the bin closed, and then I can sort of pull the reel of stickers out, and it actually works really well as like a makeshift dispenser. But yeah, not made for that. Then I have another stack of acrylic drawers. These are really old. I bought these in like 2012. I used to put makeup in them, but now I use them in here. I've got a little bin up top where I just put like the peelies from the cello bags and the envelopes instead of having to go to the big bin all the time. But these drawers are kind of like, they're not well organised. I've got my passports in one of them, like mine and Tom's passport, so that doesn't even need to be there. Just like labelled them again, notepad, sale, freebies. I do have my doodle and my script oops at the top, which I do use and find that useful. This is a 3D printed washi display that Tom made for me, so this is just out because I was prepping for the event. These were the arms and I ended up like gluing them together, but you'll see that in the event prep video. I then got a little crate of miscellaneous things. These were related to last year's advent and my Dymo label maker. I've got some die cuts just out on the desk because that was also event prep, and then I store my mailers for packaging in this little unit on the side. I think this is actually like a bedside table, but it works really well on here. I've got my bigger mailers for albums and then my smaller ones just stacked below, and then on the desk I just had that week's releases ready to be collated into kits. So under the desk, I've got these IKEA units. The one on the right hand side is an older style, and nowadays they have like the square tops, but that one doesn't. So I've got 3 of those, just what fits under the desk. I happen to have like a really tiny keyboard in here, which I don't use very often. And on the right, I've got packing supplies that are sort of less reached for, so they're out of the way. So at the bottom of the big one on the left, I've got my treadmill shoes because it wasn't enough for me to buy a treadmill and not use it. I had to buy indoor running shoes. They're really comfy though. I've got more mailers, and then I've got 2 guillotines underneath that I don't really use anymore because I've got my big one. I feel like I'm really speeding through this because I don't want to get behind the audio. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. These are spare reusable albums that haven't been made up yet. I've got notepads in here, kind of just randomly put together. I have loads more in storage, but these are just ones that I can reach for. And then the top drawer changes quite a lot. It's mainly like stuff that needs to be accessed quickly. So like these are partially finished orders and they're not going to stay there. It's just for now, like a holding place, I guess. The bottom drawer has cello bags and some packaging materials. I've got my washi all jumbled into one slim drawer now because I found that when I had it organised by design, it was kind of just a waste because I don't sell enough washi to need to be able to tell it apart quickly, so it's just fine to be jumbled up. I've got some extra notepads in that one, and in the top drawer I've just got some mystery die cuts, but I won't go through those because I think there's some that you haven't seen yet. So moving over to the final part, this is where all my stock lives. It's really like within reach for when I'm packing orders. I've got mailers and stuff on the top, like boxes. So these are for parcels and large letters, and I just make them up as I need them rather than having them stored made up. I've got a laser cartridge just on the top with like a box balanced on it because why? And then I've got some more dividers for albums at the top as well. So speaking of albums, they live on the top shelf. Now that I have a more streamlined range, I have them divided into like the kind of floral design that they are. So I've got the large ones and the small ones, and then the reusables are all together on the left hand side. Moving down, I've got my notepads stored behind these bins. As I said, I don't really need to reach for these because I've got the ones in the storage under the desk, so they're just sort of extra. I've got my scripts and doodles here in the smaller bins and some transparent stickers on the end. Behind those, I've got my mini albums. I don't sell as many minis as I do the other sizes, so these are just fine to be sort of out of the way. I've then got the monthly stickers that go on the monthly kits because they're now undated. In the back, I've got oops bags and grab bags. Normally this is a bit more full, so at the minute they're just kind of trying to not fall over, so they're in a weird formation. Then in front of that, I've got like the extra sheets for when I make kits, so the deco page and the fashion add-ons. I'm now storing these separately so I can go through these and think like, oh, do I have enough to make up some extra kits? If I do, I'll just print the extra kits. If not, I know I need to print the add-ons. So trying having that stored this way and see if it's quicker. Then we move on to kits. So these are all my weekly kits. I've got monthly and journaling ones in the end bin on the far right. These are from Wham Studio. They're really affordable. You can get them from like B&Q, Homebase, The Range, although I have struggled to find the large ones recently, but I found some in B&Q. I have the little dividers. I'm switching to these like more plasticky ones that I buy from Amazon. I did used to make them, and I've made them in quite a few vlogs, so you'll probably be able to find that if you're interested. But I just find that like it's so much more time efficient to buy them now rather than make them, so moving towards doing that. And these are made for addresses, so they do have like an address label on the back, but I can write on the front in Sharpie. And then the only other thing that I'm doing differently now is I've got like a half-size box in front of some of the full-size ones just to make use of the space a bit better. Then moving to the third row, I've got an IKEA organiser with my postage supplies. I've got a big box full of like that shredded paper to fill the voids in packages. Next to this, I have my big laminator stored behind, but in front I've got old monthly kits that are not really ordered very often because they're old. I've got more sticker collections, these are sort of last chance, and my multicolour range on the right as well. Then I've got loads of extra silhouette mats, and finally on the right I've got loads of removable matte paper. So I think I managed to cover everything, but if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'll get back to you in the comments, or I'll mention it in a studio vlog if it's something that you want to see further. This is my 7th year of business, so a lot of these things have been accumulated over a long time through a lot of trial and error, and it's just what works for me at this point. Like I said at the start, I'm still always changing things up and trying new things because like I really seek efficiency and I just love to see if something can be better than it is. So some of this stuff might change, but a lot of it is working really well for me right now. So I hope you found this video useful and enjoyed it. If you like small business content, I do studio vlog most weeks, so feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of that. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!